House behind them to succeed. I sat down with Senators Cassidy and Collins earlier today in Capitol Hill and began by asking them why they're not waiting for President Trump to introduce his own bill first.
This is Congress's responsibility. And to truly do a repeal and replace, you're going to need 60 votes in the Senate, number one. Number two. Number three, we think we have a good idea. And we were both sent here to bring our ideas and our life experience and that which we hear from our constituents to bear on national problems. And I think that's what we've attempted to do.
Senator Collins, is it as simple to describe this plan as if you like Obamacare, you can keep it?
Well, that is part of it, and that is a unique part of our bill. What we're trying to do is actually achieve a solution. If you look at the Obamacare exchanges across the country, a lot of them are in a death spiral. We've seen double-digit, even triple-digit increases in premiums, co-pays, deductibles, insurers fleeing the market, and we're going to have to do something regardless. But we recognize that there are some states where Obamacare may be the right answer for the citizens. So why not allow those states to keep it if they like it? And then we proposed an alternative, which we believe is a better choice for most states.
One of the things that it seems almost that this is going to make permanent is Medicaid expansion. Is that I know there's a third option that if you don't want to expand Medicaid, you don't have to in your state. But it seems as if the incentive is you can expand Medicaid under the rules, the old rules of ACA Obamacare. You can expand Medicaid under this new, your bill, or you don't have it at all. But it sounds like the motivation is expand Medicaid.
I think it's better to say that it would make permanent the society helping those who are middle income and a little bit lower purchase insurance. We give states the option to take the dollars currently used for Medicaid expansion and to mold it, if you will, to combine it with the dollars going for those who are on the so-called exchanges, and to have a single benefit that's for all. One of the criticisms of Medicaid is that a person who's on it doesn't want to take a higher paying job because she loses her benefits. We would give the state the option of it so as she makes more money and her benefit remains the same. It's a little bit richer for the middle income, a little bit less rich for the person who's lower income, except that it is very positive in terms of her upward social mobility. So it isn't Medicaid expansion per se, but rather it is a commitment for those who are middle income and lower income to be able to purchase insurance.
So Medicaid is no longer just for the poor under this plan? Is that the idea? Is Medicaid the new Medicare under this situation? Or
No,
and I'm just trying
really
to clarify here. I mean,
right. What we're trying to do is give more options because there are nearly 30 million people in this country who still lack health insurance despite years of the Affordable Care Act.
Well, but a lot of it is because a lot of states didn't expand Medicaid.
That's part of it, and that's why we believe that if we give more flexibility to the states in designing health care plans for those who are uninsured, that we can pick up a lot of these people. I've always felt that it was unfair that if you're under the regular Medicaid program, you're going to be covered. If you're above a certain income level, you get the subsidy, but those in between aren't getting any help in states that did not expand Medicaid.
And let me say, I personally don't want those Medicaid rules expanded. So pushing back a little bit on is Medicaid the new Medicare, I sure hope not. Because the Medicaid rules that come out of Washington, D.C. are often very cumbersome to address. It drives up costs and it limits what states can do and ends up costing the states more. We want to give the state the options to take the dollars and do something different.
Now, one of the chief complaints about Obamacare from some citizens was the taxes and the fees. Your plan would keep most of these taxes. I'm not saying you keep all of them. You keep most of them. What do you say to the critics that say, well, just call it, this is just Obamacare by another name, because you're certainly keeping all of the taxes that you asked that Obamacare got?
Well, I doubt that we'll end up keeping all of them because some of the taxes under Obamacare actually increase the cost of health care, and I don't think that makes a lot of sense. For example, the tax on durable medical equipment is an example of that.
Well, there's been bipartisan support to get rid of that for a long time.
Correct.
That I understand. But you are keeping a lion's share of the, of the revenue.
We recognize, and we're taking a realistic approach, that we are going to have a substantial commitment here. But the important change that we have done is we're returning power to the states to set the insurance rules, with the exception of vital consumer protections, which we're retaining.
Is there a concern, Senator Collins, you have this concern that you may end up having essentially blue state health care and red state health care? And you know, where the ideology of the state government is going to determine essentially what benefits you have in your insurance options.
First of all, I think putting the power back into the state's hands is the right way to go, because state citizens have different needs, and what's right for Maine may not be right for California. So I am not troubled by different states coming up with different approaches.
Right.
And it may well be that there's a new approach out there that helps to bend the cost curve more on health care costs. Because one of the problems of the Affordable Care Act is there's nothing affordable about it.
How are you going to now walk me through the coalition that you're going to get to 60 on this? Why do you think it's the way forward?
First of all, we are the first senators to put a concrete plan out there. And we expected it to be shot at by both sides. But it's so important, if we're going to get to a solution, that we advance specific proposals. Then they can be refined, amended, and ultimately enacted. We're talking to members on both sides of the aisle. And it's attractive to people who realize that premiums have gone through the roof in their states. It's also attractive to people who like the system and want to keep it. And that's the beauty of giving back the power to the states and not taking away the funding. We're putting choice back into the system.
Final question. Either of you troubled by Congressman Price and these the stock issue and these ethic issues? Do you think that's enough to derail his nomination, Senator Cassidy?
I don't. Somebody stopped me earlier to ask about something that came out last night, which I've not seen.
I understand that.
But I'll just say, right now we have families that can no longer afford their insurance. Premiums and deductibles and copays that are skyrocketing. I'm more concerned about having somebody like Price who understands that dynamic, who can work with Congress to make that better. That is and to implement President Trump's vision of everybody having insurance, those with pre-existing conditions having their needs met. I want Price to affect that. I think that's a more important issue.
Senator Collins, do you have any?
If there's new information, I of course want to review that. But the chairman of the Ethics Committee in the Senate, Johnny Isakson, introduced Congressman Price. He went through that issue in a way that satisfied me. If there's new information, I'll take a look. I think it's going to be really helpful to have a physician as the head of this important department.
All right. Senators Cassidy and Collins, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to dig into some policy.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
By the way, I did that interview earlier today. I also asked the senators how their plan deals with insurance companies raising rates. And the fact is there is no way to control that, but their hope is that the state insurance commissioners are robust in using their regulatory power state by state. By the way, the entire interview is on our